human beings. At the top of the graph, you see human beings. This show ongoing current time period, which we call Anthropocene. I will come back later to these episodes of extinction. When did they occur? What was the extent of the extinction, and what were the probable causes? As you can see, our footprints are virtually on all uh, environments, be it terrestrial, freshwater, or seas. We are everywhere. Uh, our activities, they are impacting. I guess someone's speaker is on and I'm hearing my sound back. Could you please check and turn off your speaker? I would request, please turn your speakers off. Okay. Uh, we are everywhere. Our activities, you can see, they are impacting all sorts of environment, terrestrial, freshwaters, and seas. Our activities are modifying our surroundings and the environment. Anthropocene is the most recent geological time period. It is characterized by high human or anthropogenic influence based on global evidence. Atmospheric, geologic, hydrologic, biospheric, and other Earth system processes are now being altered by humans. So, is it a separate epoch, or is it just a beginning? Some researchers propose that Anthropocene should be added to the existing geological time scale, and they propose a date of somewhere in the mid 20th century, whereas some other researchers, they propose that the starting date is much earlier. You can see our major activities during the mid 20th century. For instance, construction of large dams, our water consumption, application of fertilizers, and the radioactive fallout. These are few examples, few activities which have greatly impacted our surroundings and environment. So, Anthropocene could be added as a new epoch on the top of Holocene, or uh, it can function as an informal time unit, and there is no need to for the modification of existing geological time scale. These are the two different school of thoughts. Coming back to Earth's mass extinction, which I showed you earlier, as you can see from this slide, there had been 5 major mass extinctions in the past. First one occurred in Ordovician Silurian period, some 440 million years ago. It wiped out nearly 60 to 70% of known families of animals at that time, and the probable cause was intense ice age. The second episode is recorded during Devonian period, during which 75% known families went extinct, and the probable cause was drastic drop in oxygen levels. The third one was in at the boundary of Permian and uh, Triassic period. It wiped out almost 95% known families, and the probable cause was impact of the asteroids and intense volcanic activity. The fourth one was in at the boundary of Triassic and Jurassic period. It almost 70 to 80% known families went extinct, and the probable cause is still being debated whether it was mass volcanic eruptions or it was asteroid impact. The last one and the most familiar one is the extinction which occurred at the boundary of Cretaceous and Tertiary period, during which 75% known families went extinct. This is the mass extinction period, which mark the end of reptile rule, and all known dinosaurs, they went extinct during this extinctions. This extinction took place some 65 million years ago. And the ongoing, which we call the sixth mass extinction, it is continue and the probable cause is Homo sapiens, which are us. So as I showed you the slide in which you've just seen that there had been some mass extinctions in the past. So the question is, why should we bother about species extinction at present time? It's a natural process. It's been going on. We've just seen that nearly 60, 70, and up to 95% families went extinct. And then Earth had a time to recover and it bounced back, and more species they evolved, and the species diversity of the Earth reaches to the point where we are standing. So why we have this field, wildlife management, why we have biodiversity conservation, why we have animal conservationists, why we have foresters, why we have experts in these fields? It is because there are certain things which need to be understood. For example, look at this graph. I, I discussed the past extinction which occurred in distant past, which we can study through fossil record. In the distant past, for every 1,000 mammal species, less than one went extinct every millennium. Means in 1,000 years, only one, or less than for every 1,000 mammal species, one went extinct. During recent times, the extinction is predicted 1,000 times higher than the distant past. And based on this data, the future modeled prediction is 10 times higher than what is we are observing these days. So to answer this question, we have three main points. Number one, the current extinction rate is very high. There are multitude of factors which are driving species to extinction, and sorry, and these factors are affecting synergistically, means more than one factor is impacting a single species. I would take amphibians as an example, and through this talk, I will try to explain why we are more interested in amphibians these days. And this group of tetrapod evolved during Devonian period. It evolved from lobed fin fishes or crossoterigian fishes. You can see the similarity between skeletal elements of the fins of lobe fin fishes and early as well as modern day amphibians. At present, amphibians are represented through three clades and urines, which include frogs and toads, chordata, which includes salamanders, and gymnofauna, which includes worm-like amphibians, also called as caecilians. So when animal ecologist, conservationist, or amphibian conservationist try to convince general people or masses about work on or research on amphibians or about conservation of amphibians, we are countered with arguments that amphibians are common, they are everywhere, so why should we conserve them, why should we study them? They hold no apparent use or value. In order to tackle these arguments, I'm going to give you a few examples. For example, passenger pigeon, it was very common. It took days to clear the horizon or sky when this species used to migrate from one point to another. It was common. And the last surviving individual in the wild died in 1901. And the last surviving individual of passenger pigeon, which was so common, died in captivity in 1914. So a common, abundant, or a species which is everywhere, it may become extinct in no time. Secondly, consider the plight of human beings. If cinchona tree had gone extinct in before the discovery of malarial drug, during 17th century, many humans, they were dying due to malaria, and Finally, the drug, the cure came from a tree, cinchona tree, and it cured this disease. So a species may seem unimportant or of no value at one point, but all species, they hold significance, they are important, they have value. It is up to us how and when we explore their use or their significance. These two slides further elaborates or augment my point, which I try to make through my talk, why we are more concerned about species conservation, especially amphibians. You can see at present, the highest percentage of threatened species is from amphibia. Amphibians constitute highest percentage of threatened species. About 40% of amphibians worldwide, they are threatened with extinction, in contrast with only 25% mammals and 14% birds. Likewise, they also dominate data deficient category. About 24% of amphibian species of the world, they are data deficient. That is, that is species we don't know much about. Speaking in terms of medical value, there are several kinds of drugs or compounds that have been extracted from amphibians. For example, biogenic amines, alkaloids, peptides, proteins. They are being used in medical field. Amphibians hold immense significance in the ecosystem. They are pest controller, as well as they provide food to categories which are placed further higher in the food pyramid, for example, birds and mammals. Amphibians are sensitive to pollutants, contaminants, and anthropogenic activities such as habitat change, destruction, fragmentation. So they can be used as model animals to study anthropogenic activities. Amphibians are kept as pets, especially from frogs from family Dendrobatidae and Mantellidae. Frog legs are considered as a delicacy in several parts of the world. And lastly, all the advancements in anatomy, physiology, ecology, biochemistry, endocrinology, we should be thankful to amphibians, because amphibians have been used in these fields as model animals. Lastly, in terms of evolutionarily distinct and globally endangered term, amphibians also dominate all terrestrial vertebrates. Over 800 species of frogs and toads, over 80 species of salamanders, and over about 10 species of caecilians, they have been identified as edge species. Amphibian extinction crisis was first noticed and brought to the notice of scientific community in 1988 during World Congress of Herpetology. And since then, reports have been coming in from all parts of the world, confirming decline in the amphibian populations in all continents, all parts of the world. You can see from this graph the 5 major threats being faced by the amphibians during the Anthropocene: overexploitation, emerging infectious diseases, alien invasives, pesticides and environmental toxins, habitat change. I presume most of the participants are from ecology, animal sciences, and they know about alien invasive species and overexploitation. In case they have any question, I'll be there at the end of the presentation. I'll be happy to explain these terms. But right now, I am assuming all of you know about these terms. This gray area or gray part of the bar graph shows number of threatened amphibian species corresponding anthropogenic activity or threat given on y-axis. Right now, in fact, for past 2 years, we are facing COVID-19 pandemic, but amphibians have been experiencing an analogous epidemic or crisis for past few decades. There is a fungus, a pathogenic fungus, Batrachocatrium dendrobatides, or simply BD. Uh, it is believed that about 90 species in the world have become extinct due to this BD fungus, and about 700 amphibian species worldwide, they are still affected by the BD fungus, and they are experiencing decline in their population. This fungus, the probable origin of this fungus is Africa, and it is spread out from the Africa through African clawed frogs, which are used as model animals in medical. This chytrid fungus disrupts normal regulatory function of amphibian skins, causes electrolyte depletion, and osmotic imbalance, which eventually leads to amphibian mortality or deaths. This is the basic life cycle of this pathogenic chytrid fungus. An aquatic motile zoospore initiates the colonization of host cells, which embeds in host cell and develops into a thallus. The thallus matures and new zoospores are formed, which are released in the environment, and they may reinfect the same host, or it may infect the other individuals. Luckily, the current and predicted current and predicted occurrence or likelihood of occurrence of chytrid frog in Pakistan is low, but this study is not based on samples from Pakistan, and we believe if we carry out a comprehensive study in the northern part of our country, then we may find prevalence of this fungus here. These 8 are the basic tools to address real-world conservation crisis. For example, identification of local conservation problems, synthesis of review, what is known about the threat, how we can manage them, assessment of which questions are most likely to change conservation outcomes, identification of the life history stage, which has the greatest effect on population viability, learning during the conservation process, determination of effectiveness of ongoing process, improvisation and initiation of new research, and finally the publication of results. Specifically related to amphibians, these 6 points or these 6 actions have proven to yield positive results for amphibian conservation programs. For example, creating more suitable habitats by managing hydrology, supplementing populations through Head Start program, captive breeding, reducing use of pesticides and herbicides, mitigating the effects of roads, protecting habitat at different scales, especially small scales, because amphibians are unable to travel long distances, and finally removing or controlling the invasive or non-native species. These are the few points in terms of conservation and management, education, and stewardship. We suggest conservation and protection of amphibians in uh, degraded and disturbed habitats like croplands, fragmented habitats, provision of breeding habitats, construction of passageways during any developmental projects such as roads or highways or motorways, uh, work or controlling the spread of pathogens, management of invasive species, attempts to change social perception, because in our society it is very difficult to convince a layman about the significance of amphibians. We need to devise policy and legislation regarding amphibian ecology and conservation and include amphibians in all major wildlife conservation activities. We can educate or we can contribute in the education of amphibian conservation by including the discipline of herpetology at graduate and postgraduate levels by field-based education tours, species roundups, and by introducing short courses, certificate and diploma programs. What you can do, you can discourage vivisection of wild-caught frogs. Do not purchase wild-caught amphibians. Try to reduce your footprint by reducing pesticide use, avoid polluting water, and drive carefully during the monsoon season. In the last few slides, I'm gonna go through quickly some of our most recent achievements regarding amphibian ecology, research, and conservation. We have given for the first time a very comprehensive study on all known amphibian species of Pakistan. We have provided about 37 genetic record of 37% of amphibian fauna of Pakistan. We have established linkages with Amphibian Survival Alliance UK and Zoological Research Museum Germany. We've won a couple of national and international awards. We have assessed conservation status of more than 20 amphibian species of Pakistan. This assessment is still pending. We've done our part, and now we are waiting for the IUCN. Hopefully, this assessment of 20 species will be available by the end of this year, or most likely somewhere in the start of 2022. We've won a couple of grants, awards, and we are doing some collaborative research projects on amphibians. We designed these posters to create awareness on amphibians, and we have made available our data on thermal tolerance of 2 endemic species, as well as the R codes, which are available on DryAid. And finally, if you are interested and not bored, I'm going to show you a short documentary about our lab and our work. Sorry to disrupt. Can you, I'm going to ask all the participants if you are hearing it clearly or not. Azam Saab. Sir, sound clear है वीडियो की?
वीडियो की नहीं है, आपकी क्लियर है।
बताएं।
अब ठीक है, अब ठीक है।
अच्छा, 1 मिनट में मैं दोबारा प्ले करता हूँ।
University in Australia. There are at least 25 amphibian species in Pakistan, from the families Bufonidae, Megaphrynidae, Microhylidae, and Dicroclossidae. And at least 6 of these species are endemic to Pakistan, meaning that they're found nowhere else in the world. So frogs are probably one of the most present taxonomic groups on the planet, showing that around the world over 500 species have declined and around 90 of those have become extinct. Now of the remaining species, around 200 of them are suffering ongoing decline. Frogs are cool for so many reasons. They play an important role in the ecosystem. They eat lots of insects and they're eaten by a lot of other animals, so they're important in the food chain. They're also really diverse, so they come in a whole range of different sizes and colours and shapes and patterns, and they have really diverse life histories from your standard sort of frog life history where they lay their eggs in a water body to the tadpoles that swim around, develop, eventually getting all those into frogs that hop away from them. Frogs are really amazing, and we should do everything we can to conserve their habitats. Racers Lab is one of the leading amphibian research groups in Pakistan. His team has been studying the impacts of climate change, habitat destruction and pollution on amphibians. Their ongoing research into the space use, migration and dispersal of the Murray Hills frog and Hazara torrent frog could aid the conservation of endemic frogs in subtropical pine and Himalayan moist temperate forests. These frogs inhabit unpolluted permanent freshwater springs and streams. So water extraction from these streams or changes in their water regime due to climate change may cause population decline.
with this, I thank you all. If you have any question, please.
डॉक्टर सर वीडियो आप कर रहे हैं, थोड़ा सा शोर आ रहा है।
वीडियो ऑफ है, मैं हेडफोन यूज कर लेता हूँ।
If any person have question, the participants are requested to mute their mic.
क्वेश्चन तो कोई पूछ रहा है, लेकिन
I
काफी
think that's there is no question from the participants. लगता है उनको बहुत ज्यादा समझ आ गई है।
क्या बिल्कुल नहीं आई?
नहीं, हम ये नहीं कहते। तो थैंक यू डॉक्टर साहब फॉर स्पेयरिंग योर टाइम।
थैंक यू सर।
मैंने हाँ बार बार रिक्वेस्ट की है, ये सजाद हैदर साहब प्लीज आप अपना म्यूट करें जी माइक। और ये जो रिकॉर्डिंग होगी ये अवेलेबल होगी on DAS YouTube channel. If any students want to take benefits later on, can take the benefit. And if you have any question, then you can meet Dr. Rais in his lab. I think there is one Arslan. There is one question, please.
Hello, ji. Assalamu alaikum. Dr. Rais sahab, you are really an admiration for all of us कि आप इतने neglected group of animals पे काम कर रहे हैं. बट मेरे आपसे दो क्वेश्चन हैं. आपने अपनी प्रेजेंटेशन में दिखाया है कि 40% of amphibians are threatened with extinction, but the word is more focused about the other groups like birds and mammals. इसकी क्या वजह है? और दूसरी चीज़ ये कि आपने बताया कि नॉर्दर्न एरियाज में चिट्रिड फंगस जो है वो अफेक्ट कर रहा है हमारे एम्फीबियंस को, तो बाकी पार्ट्स ऑफ पाकिस्तान है वहाँ पे ये इफेक्ट नहीं कर रही. तो इसका कोई चांस है कि पूरे मुल्क में ये फैल जाए, और इसकी प्रोटेक्शन के लिए हम क्या कर सकते हैं?
थैंक यू फॉर योर अप्रिसिएशन. आपके पहले सवाल का जवाब, आपने पूछा कि वर्ल्ड इज़ फोकस ऑन बर्ड्स एंड मैमल्स, तो उसकी एक बहुत सिंपल सी रीज़न है, ऑलरेडी मैंने अभी टॉक में भी थोड़ी सी कवर की. इट इज़ बेसिकली दे आर कॉन्स्पिक्यूअस एनिमल्स, दे आर मैजेस्टिक, दे आर कलरफुल. तो मोस्टली हमारी एक जो सोशल परसेप्शन है वो यही है कि जो शेर है, चीता है, हाथी, घोड़े, परिंदे जो खूबसूरत हैं, ब्यूटी इज़ अ स्टेट ऑफ माइंड, तो हमारे नज़दीक वो ब्यूटीफुल हैं, मैजेस्टिक हैं, इसलिए उनकी कंजर्वेशन की तरफ ज़्यादा फोकस किया जाता है डिस्पाइट द साइंटिफिक फैक्ट्स जो कि एम्फीबियंस के हक में जाते हैं. बट हम इंक्लूसिव वाइल्ड लाइफ कंजर्वेशन को सपोर्ट करते हैं और हम बिलीव करते हैं कि हर स्पीशीज़ इंपॉर्टेंट है, कार्निवोर्स, एंगुलेट्स, बर्ड्स, एम्फीबियन, रेप्टाइल्स. तो हमें सिंगल स्पीशीज़ अप्रोच के बजाय इंक्लूसिव कंजर्वेशन की अप्रोच का यूज़ करना चाहिए. सेकंड क्वेश्चन आपका चिट्रिड फंगस से रिलेटेड, तो उसकी स्प्रेड के कुछ एरियाज़ हैं. उन एरियाज़ में जो अभी तक जो डाटा है बेस्ड ऑन स्पीसीज डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन मॉडलिंग, दुनिया में जहाँ जहाँ चिट्रिड फंगस देखा गया है वहाँ से इकोलॉजिकल इन्वायरमेंटल को वेरिएट्स उठाए गए और उनकी अकरेंस के रिकॉर्ड्स उठाए गए और फिर ये मैप प्लॉट किया गया है. तो उसकी बेस पे जो हमारे नॉर्दर्न एरियाज़ हैं उनमें कुछ लेस देन 50% चांसेस हैं कि वहाँ ये फंगस हो सकता है, लेकिन वहाँ एक्सप्लोरेटरी सर्वेस की ज़रूरत है. तो अभी तक वहाँ सर्वे हुआ नहीं है. और बाकी जो हमारा पार्ट है वो एरिड है, वहाँ एम्फीबियन असेंबलेज इतनी है भी नहीं. जो नॉर्दर्न एरियाज़ हैं वहाँ हमारे इकोसिस्टम यूनिक हैं और ज़्यादा हैं, तो वहाँ एम्फीबियन असेंबलेज भी ज़्यादा है. रेस्ट ऑफ द कंट्री, मोस्ट पार्ट ऑफ बलूचिस्तान, सिंध, पंजाब, केपी अलॉन्ग वेस्टर्न बॉर्डर, दे आर एरिड, तो वहाँ एम्फीबियन असेंबलेज भी कम है और एरिडिटी की वजह से और टेम्परेचर्स की वजह से भी इसकी लाइवलीहुड कम है.
Okay, thank you so much.
Any other question, please? Anyhow, Dr. Saab, thank you very much for sparing your time.
Thank you, sir.
It was a wonderful talk. And in our next talk, we from the Department of Structures and Environmental Engineering, and is about the drought in Pakistan. I will request the research coordinators, please share with your students and the faculty members to participate on 23rd of September 2021. Thank you very much, all the participants and the speaker. See you next time.
Allah Hafiz.